We've all been there, you know? Right when things finally start going well, we find a way to mess it up. But what if we told you that your sabotage isn't actually an enemy, but a protector that's simply working overtime? Just imagine, you finally land that dream job, or you're 3 weeks into a healthy new routine, or maybe you finally met someone who treats you with the kindness you deserve. Everything feels right. And then, well, out of nowhere, we pick a fight. We forget an important deadline. We ghost the person who makes us feel safe. It feels like there's a self-destruct button inside us, and we just can't stop ourselves from hitting it. It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? We look in the mirror and we ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Am I just broken? But here at Psyche Unveiled, we want to offer a different lens. What if we told you that your brain isn't actually trying to ruin your life? What if, instead, it's trying to save it? It's just using a very, very outdated manual. You see, we call this self-sabotage, but in the world of deep healing, we see it as a defense mechanism. It's a part of us that learned, a long time ago, that good things can sometimes feel dangerous because they make us vulnerable to disappointment or even loss. To this part of our psyche, staying stuck feels safer than taking a risk. Throughout our journey today, we're going to show you how to stop fighting this internal guard and start collaborating with it. Because the truth we really need to sit with is this. What if you aren't actually broken, but just too well defended? Let's pull back the curtain on why our minds build these walls in the first place and look at the mystery of that self-destruct button.
Think about that heavy feeling in your chest. You know, when you realize another month has passed and that project you were so excited about is still just a blank document. We call this the cycle of unfinished dreams, and it's a weight many of us carry without even realizing it. We start with so much momentum, but then the agitation kicks in. It's that restless, itchy sensation that tells us to look away, to procrastinate, or even pick a fight with the very people who are trying to help us. We see this play out in what we call the relationship exit. Things are finally going well. You're feeling seen, valued, and safe. But instead of leaning in, you find yourself obsessing over a tiny flaw, or starting an argument over the dishes. On the surface, it looks like self-sabotage. But beneath that, our mind is actually whispering, if we end this now on our terms, it won't hurt as bad as if they leave us later. We see it in the career ceiling too. You're one bold email or one finished presentation away from a breakthrough, but suddenly, you're paralyzed. You spend hours organizing your desk or scrolling through social media until the window of opportunity slams shut. In those moments, the pain of staying the same, the stagnation, the boredom, even the self-loathing actually starts to feel safer than the risk of moving forward. We stay in the shame loop because the shame is familiar. We know how to handle feeling like a failure, but we aren't quite sure if we know how to handle the pressure of being a success. Every time we let an opportunity slip away, we tell ourselves we're just lazy, that we lack discipline. We wrap ourselves in this blanket of guilt, but that guilt is actually a distraction. It keeps us focused on our mistakes, so we don't have to look at the terrifying possibility of what lies on the other side of our fear. We're caught in a paradox, you see, where our internal compass is pointing us toward a safe harbor that is actually a desert. But why would our minds do this to
why would the very parts of us designed to keep us alive be so intent on keeping us small? It feels like a glitch in the system, actually. A survival instinct that's gone rogue. To understand how to break the loop, we have to look at the biology of the fear itself and discover why our inner protector is using a map that's decades out of date.
Think of our minds like a high security building, you know? When we try to reach for that big promotion, set a new boundary, or finally open up to someone, a silent alarm goes off deep in our subconscious. To us, it feels like we're tripping over our own feet, right? We call it self-sabotage. We call it messing up again. But honestly, in the world of psychology, we look at these behaviors through a much more compassionate lens. We call them our inner bodyguards. In psychology, specifically when we look at the internal family systems model, we see these behaviors as managers or firefighters. Our managers are the parts of us that keep us small, quiet, and perfect, so we never have to face the sting of criticism. Our firefighters, they're more reactive. They're the ones who swoop in with an impulsive shopping spree, a numbing scroll through social media, or even a sudden burst of anger, just to put out the fire of a difficult emotion. We have to understand a fundamental truth about our biology. Our brain's primary job isn't to make us happy or successful, it's to keep us alive. And to our subconscious, familiar is the exact same thing as safe. Even if our current situation is stagnant or even painful, our brain knows we can survive it because, we've done it every single day up until now. Success? That's an unknown. Growth? To the brain, that's a threat to the status quo. When we find ourselves procrastinating on a dream or pushing away a healthy partner, we aren't actually trying to ruin our lives. We are overprotecting them. We are watching our internal security team go into overdrive because they think a change in our environment, even a positive one, is a predatory threat. The most profound realization we can have is that these parts of us are often frozen in a time loop. They're still operating on a map of the world that was drawn when we were much younger, perhaps back when we actually were in a situation where staying small was the only way to stay safe. These protectors, they don't realize we've grown up. They don't know that the person standing here today has resources and strength that the younger version of us didn't have. They are still standing guard at a door that hasn't been attacked in years. But if these protectors are just doing their jobs, how do we convince them to finally stand down? How do we show a part of us that's been on high alert for decades that the war is actually over? The shift happens when we stop fighting these parts and start listening to them. Because you see, there is one specific reason they are so terrified of us moving forward, and it's hidden in a memory we might have forgotten we even had. So, how do we actually begin to bridge this gap? We move into what we call the art of inner negotiation. It's a shift from fighting ourselves to finally, truly understanding ourselves. And honestly, it starts with a very specific, compassionate protocol. When we feel that familiar urge to quit right before the finish line, or when we find ourselves procrastinating on a dream that actually matters to us, our first instinct is usually to get angry. We beat ourselves up and call it a lack of discipline, right? But in these moments, we need to do the opposite. We don't get angry. We get curious. We need to pause and ask that sabotaging part of us, what are we afraid will happen if we actually succeed? Because that fear, the fear of the spotlight, the fear of the unknown, or even the fear of being seen, is exactly where the protector is hiding. Once we listen for that answer, we don't try to logicalize it away. Instead, we simply acknowledge the effort. Tenderly, we say to ourselves, I see you trying
trying to keep us safe. And I actually appreciate that. It sounds simple, maybe even a little strange, but for a part of us that's been judged and suppressed for years, being seen and thanked warmly, it's revolutionary. It lowers the internal cortisol. It stops the inner war. From that place of calm, we gently reassure that part of ourselves. We remind it that we are adults now. We have resources, maturity, and tools that we simply didn't have when these defenses were first built as children. We tell that protector, we have more tools than we did before, and it's okay to take this next step together. We aren't exiling the protector or pushing it away. We are negotiating a new role for it. We're moving forward as a whole, integrated version of ourselves. But even after we start this negotiation, we might find a very specific, stubborn resistance that refuses to budge. It's because there is often one final, heavy secret that our subconscious is still trying to protect us from. There's a specific reason why your brain convinced itself that being stuck is actually safer than being free. And it all traces back to a single moment of impact that we haven't talked about yet.
You see, that secret is the realization that we aren't actually afraid of failing. Not really. Deep down, we're often more afraid of what happens if we succeed. You know, the new responsibilities, the new eyes on us, and that raw vulnerability of being seen for who we really are. Our inner protector has been holding us back because it's honestly just scared. It's scared we can't handle the weight of being truly free. But here is the shift we need to make together. We have to stop viewing our mind as a battlefield where we need to defeat the bad parts of ourselves. Healing isn't about winning an internal war. It's about ending one. Actually, when we stop trying to exile our sabotage and start trying to understand it, we move from being a victim of our impulses to being the leader of our own life. Think of these protective parts of us like outdated software. They were programmed during a time of crisis to keep us safe, and they've been running in the background ever since. We don't need to delete the program, right? We just need to give it a new set of instructions. We can look at that voice of doubt and say, I see you. I know you're trying to keep us from getting hurt like we were back then, but we are safe now. I've got this. This is the path of the self-healer. It's the transition from fighting against ourselves to advocating for ourselves. True peace doesn't come from finally becoming perfect or silencing every single doubt. It comes from internal harmony. The moment we realize that every part of us, even the messy, scared, and sabotaging parts, is actually on our side. They just needed a leader they could trust. We've spent so much time looking at the us inside of us as an enemy. But today, we start looking at ourselves as a team. If this perspective shifted something for you, we'd really love to hear about it. Which protector in your life are you finally ready to start leading instead of fighting? Let us know in the comments so we can support each other. And if you're ready to keep unveiling the layers of your mind and join our growing community of healers, make sure to subscribe to Psyche Unveiled. We're just so glad you're here with us on this journey. Be kind to yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one.